I'll clarify, but what I want to ask is sort of like why the military? You just said how most people join between 18 and 21, and it's certainly not everybody, but you stereotype that many people join either I don't want to go to school, can't afford school, or I haven't figured out what to do for a job.
Yep.
But some people also sign up, that's what they want to do, or this is a career move or whatever else. For you personally, like, was it one of those? Was it a combination? Like, what led to you enlisting out of high school?
So starting even back in high school when we all had, there's still counselors in high school, when everyone had a designated counselor, it kind of started, honestly, way back to him. And I won't say any names, but we were talking one day, he's like, how are your grades? And I was probably a 2.5, maybe a 3.0. I was just an average student. And I just wanted to get through high school, and I was a basketball player for pretty much most of my life. And I was like, I want to go to college to play basketball. And then he was probably one of the first people to tell me, like, that's not happening. And as a kid in high school, just a kid still, like, that kind of killed me mentally. But I kind of brushed it off down the road. Finally graduated high school, went to Nova for 1 semester, but then I tore my shoulder and my bicep. And so that killed me mentally. And then just, like, I feel like I was wasting my parents' money too. And it's not that I did bad at Nova. I was like, I just don't see myself doing this right now. And I told my dad at the end of the semester, I was like, I just want to take a break from college. And then one day later, I was like, I think I want to do the Army. Like, it kind of clicked. Okay. So.
Was he ever in the armed forces?
His dad was in the Navy for like 30 years, as they weren't buds back then, but he was, I guess, whatever SEAL teams were back in the day.
Right.
And he did 30 years of that. I think I get my craziness from him, honestly. And then my dad tried to join at 22, but they said he was too old. Back in the day, I guess 22 was too old for him. And,
too old to enlist or to do special forces?
To enlist, I guess, yeah. And so he did law enforcement, and he's been in law enforcement for 22 years, did SWAT for 5 years.
Okay, because, I mean, I know, because I taught you did I teach you in 10th and 11th grade?
I think both.
I think it was like 2 years in the middle of high school, right? And so I know when some of these topics came up, like, you always showed a general interest in some of the Army stuff, but I didn't know if it was going to enlist or the rest.
Yeah. And
so it ends up being something that it ends up looking like your best option at that time. Looking back, do you think that was a good option? Like, has this been, like, for you personally, has this been a good thing for you?
Absolutely. So, like I said, I was 18, 19 when I joined, and you gotta be, I mean, everyone thinks to become an adult at 18 years old, like, yeah, like, that's the age, but, like, joining the military, like, you really have to become, like, yourself. Like, you're on your own unless you're married at that point, but, like, you need to, like, learn to grow up, accept what is there, go with what is in front of you, and then go based off that. So, like I said, I went to Alaska by myself, and you learn just financially, disciplining yourself, having to wake up every morning at 5:30 and having to go to do a workout that you don't want to do every morning. And it's not even a workout. It's just like maybe push-ups, sit-ups, and then there's your morning right there. And you go to work from 9:30 to 4:30 or 5 in the afternoon.
Right.
So, like, it's more of the discipline aspect, but I've no regrets joining. But I'm glad it put me where I am now for sure, because I have a more, I don't know the word is, but I have a better look on life. I should say, for sure.
So, like, a little perspective.
Absolutely.
Priorities, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we want to talk about, but I'm just curious because you mentioned, counselor sort of, laying it down, you're not playing college basketball.
Yeah.
Was that good advice? Like, or was it good advice in a bad way? Was it bad advice told well? Like, that's obviously a moment that changes how you're looking at your post-high school plans, right? Did it change for the best? Like, should he have said that? Should he not have said that? Like, because that's one of those times where sometimes, like, we have little interactions with people that end up having big effects later. And you never know it when it's happening. Like, he probably didn't think he was going to have any major impact when he says it, but maybe it has in certain ways. Like, was that the right thing for him to do?
I mean, looking back on it, I mean, I still don't know why he really came out and said that. But at the end of the day, I know, like, me personally, if you're going to tell me something, like, be straight up with me, be real, like, don't sugarcoat it. So hopefully there was some meaning behind it. I don't know. But when I went to Nova, like, I was still trying to play basketball until I tore my shoulder and my bicep slightly. I joined the military for some reason after that. But there was a reason behind it. He said it. What happened, and
I mean, and I'm not asking you to play the woulda, coulda, shoulda, but
no.
Do you think, say, without that injury, like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I obviously knew you were into basketball. I think I caught 5 minutes of one game one time. So I don't know if you're good. You know, I have no idea. Like,
No, it's fine.
do you think that that's a thing that you would have been competitive to do?
Absolutely.
So if you had kept playing basketball, does that mean maybe you wouldn't have ended up in the armed forces?
Most likely, yes, because at the time, so in sports, like people say you hit your peak or you figure out you're good at the sport. So me personally, I didn't figure out I was good at the game till I would say kind of late in the high school, going into my senior years, kind of when I figured out like I can play the game.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's never too late. Me personally, it's never too late for anyone, but like it's kind of late in your career. But my AU coach, who I've been with since I was like 5 years old, so he's been a big impact on my life as well, just like my parents. He was working on trying to get me to play, I think, at Hood College in Maryland, just like some D3 schools. And I was completely fine with that. But, of course, I went to Nova that first semester, but then the counselor thing happened, and then kind of just like...
Yeah, well, and that's, sometimes that's, like, good advice to give is, like, for example, I don't want to pick any one person, so I'm going to say, and this has happened a few times, but in the last 2 or 3 years, I can think of at least I can at least think of at least 3 students who've gone to college for art or for theater or acting. And teaching in an English class, I don't always get to see. I don't know. I know they're into it. I don't know if they're any good at it. And now, like, these kids are in college to do theater, to act, or to do art. And now, because outside of school, they're graduating, I'm friends on Facebook or Instagram, and I see the art or I see the acting, like, I'm not an expert, but they're not very good. and in those cases, I think, like, man, like, somebody should have said something, because you're spending, maybe they'll get better, I don't know.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of money on it. And so sometimes it's, like, from that teacher or counselor's perspective, you're doing a favor by saying it, but sometimes you're not, and I always worry, like, I want to try to not discourage someone, because what if I'm wrong, or, it's not my job to ruin someone else's day or dream or whatever. But I mean, that's sort of a pivotal moment. And I mean, for you were, when I first taught you in 10th grade, like, you're skinny, you weren't a big guy, but like towards the end of high school, you started to fill out. So that's what you say, like, all right, I can play the game, but you were very different. You were a different guy at the end of high school than, say, 10th grade.
For sure.
And probably a lot of guys getting recruited D1 are already full-grown men at 10th grade.
6'3", 6'5", like,
ridiculous. It's a different body type. I don't know, that's tricky. That's like the person's probably trying to give you the best advice they can, but trying to give good advice doesn't mean it is good advice.
Yeah.